Yo, what's going on, guys? Gonna be getting into today's market recap. It's gonna be going over what happened, what I was seeing coming into the day, and yeah. So pretty much going into today, overall was leaning pretty bearish. We do have I mean, I guess bearish. Like we were just technically right here, we are displacing higher, but there was just kind of this was like a condition day, and this was like a day when I hopped on where I knew this was oh, excuse me, I knew this was just gonna be trash. Like we were inside of we inversed this first 4 hour, and then we had the second 4 hour that we were in. Overall, higher time frame is extremely bearish, and what's been going on in the world right now, just super bearish stuff. I mean, yeah, in this Lega price, I really wasn't looking for any longs. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really looking for much. I was just gonna see what we did on market open. So what we ended up doing on market open is we ended up boom, boom, boom. There was a trade down here that I'm gonna go over why I faded it and why I don't think it was good. But yeah, so coming into market open, what we ended up doing is we just ended up opening lower ever so slightly into we ended up sweeping at this low at 908 into what? Like probably like I don't really care what it was into, but we ended up definitely slipping into some sort of PD right here. And I'd say some people ended up taking longs here off of hopes and dreams. Well, not hopes and dreams, but I guess probably like a 30-second version, whatever. Overall, I don't think this trade, if you did take any long from that market open, was very good. Reason being is simply because we are very bearish in the higher time frame, and you have a lot of very strong draws at your stop loss, being session lows and also an unfilled 4 hour. So it's just kind of scary. Too long from there. And if you had conviction, you had conviction. I'm not going to judge that. But again, this trade within here, I mean, I presume if you did end up taking this, you probably would have been aiming for this wick over here. Yeah, C plus, pretty poor trade. And then after this, we ended up actually selling off here. And I know there was some people that ended up taking shorts from here off of this rejection block. I'm not a fan of rejection blocks. I don't use them at all. But yeah, there was just no setup within this range here to target anything lower or higher, in my opinion. And that was just valid enough to take. So yeah, ended up selling off here, and then we got to 10 a.m. And then 10 a.m. started to generate liquidity higher. And now this is the trade that some people ended up taking. We ended up coming inside of this 4 hour fair value gap here. I love when TradingView just resets everything. So awesome. And let me actually go back. I will go back. But right here. Yeah, I think it was closer. Yeah, it was before that. Okay. Yeah. So coming into here, I think we had like a 5-minute inversion. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Right here. Next candle. Cool. Next candle. So we had a 5-minute inversion here, and we had an unfilled 15-minute fair value gap above us here. And some people ended up taking this trade, which is a 5-minute inversion. The close on this is pretty poor. It's not the greatest close either. I was looking at this at the time. I just had no hope in taking this. Simple reason being is because, first of all, it's a negative risk to reward to the 15-minute. If you want to target a 1-to-1, I guess you could have. Wherever you may have put your stop loss here, maybe here, target a 1-to-1, cool. But the thing is about this trade, guys, like it just doesn't make sense to take this. Reason being is because you are trying to catch a falling knife, and my own data shows me more times you try to catch a falling knife, the more times you lose. I've literally backtested just catching falling knives because I was so interested in them because I kept losing on them. And my win rate with backtesting falling knives in particular was like 35%. And from me backtesting like over 3, 4, 5, 6 months, almost a year a day, like 6 months basically of just trying to catch falling knives to target unmitigated gaps, the win rate is 35%. Like, is that really something that you want to put yourself in? You like the yourself in those shoes to where you want to try to be catching a trade, which is realistically going to be most of the time like a regular RR trade. At 35%, like no, that is a complete joke. Just stay away from these kind of trades. The reason being is because, especially in this case, there was a better A plus trade that ended up presenting itself later on in the session, which I'm going to go over. But if we look at what we've been doing the entire session, we've just been bleeding. Like at this point, I think we bled. How many points did we bleed from the high up market open? We bled damn near 250 points to the downside here, and then you are taking essentially the first inversion that you get from this. And if we look at the structure leading down to this, is this good structure? Let's go to the 5-minute, bro. It's just bearish candles. There is no draws on liquidity. Your only draw on liquidity is an unmitigated 15-minute fair value gap. There's no low resistance building up to that. There's no like actual good draws to actually send us higher towards that gap. there's just nothing, right? So this is just something that you just want to stay away from. Like there's no good draws. The only draw on liquidity is a 15-minute unfilled fair value gap. There's no low resistance building up to it, no nothing. So this is why this trade fails, right? This trade, I think we chop around for a bit, chop around, slam. You get absolutely botched. But now when we're gonna come into the better trade that ends up happening is I think it was at 10:44. Okay, so yeah, now at this point, this is looking a lot cleaner. Why? Because we actually have more reason to go higher. We have failure swings, we have low resistance liquidity building up now to an hourly gap. At this point, this was an hourly gap, if I'm not mistaken. It was definitely a 30-minute. It was definitely an unfilled, just unfilled 15, unfilled 30, unfilled everything. We had unfilled gaps higher, and we had a bunch of low resistance liquidity building up to it. Now, I know here was the original inversion right here, which I know some people ended up taking, which is like huge. That's like massive, massive risk reward. Fair enough if you took this, but I personally myself got off the charts at around 10:30 because I just wasn't liking this PA, and I didn't really want to long against the higher time frame trend of us being bearish here. But in this sense, this trade was pretty clean. We ended up having that inversion here. This was no PO3, by the way. This was kind of a PO3 in the sense that we were generating liquidity, then we had a sweep here, and then we had a V-shaped recovery. But it's not a PO3. It's more just an AMD. So no PO3 there. But at this point now, this was looking a lot better. Why? Because we actually have a low resistance liquidity here, building up to that higher time frame DOL, being these unfilled gaps above. So if you ended up taking this entry, which is the entry that I probably would have taken if the conditions were better, overall, that's just hindsight for me. I realistically probably wouldn't have taken anything. Just target this unfilled gap right here, and just slightly above a 1-to-1. If you got in at this entry, this is like a massive trade. But if you got in right here, it's like around slightly more of a 1-to-1. Would have put around 5 cons, whatever it may be on this trade. And this trade, of course, ends up absolutely flushing to take profit. Reason being is because we actually have a lot more reasoning to go higher now, and it makes a lot of sense because we actually have draws on liquidity and we have unfilled gaps. So this is like a valid mech model if you're looking at taking one, instead of the first one where it's just the first inversion off of a slam to the downside with no actual targets backing us going higher here, right? So this was a good trade. I don't know, honestly, I would rate this setup A, definitely not A plus. Reason being is just because the low resistance liquidity here was absolutely amazing, and the target was really, really obvious. But it's counter trend, so counter trend trades, in my opinion, just never get an A plus rating because from my data and what I've collected, counter trend trades do not have a higher win rate than with the trend and percent and continuation models, BNQ models, whatever it may be. And then after this, honestly, I didn't really see something else. If you ended up taking a short from this gap, I think if I just like leave this here, we'll see. Go to the 15-minute here. Yeah, okay. So we ended up rejecting off this hourly gap that we ended up making, and then we ended up displacing lower and taking out the external range low, being previous day lower, Asian session low right here, so which is lower day. The lower day ends up getting taken out there. So yeah, that's honestly it. Not really much today. A pretty poor price action in my opinion. Not really any valid setup. I guess that setup for sure. 10:46, that was pretty valid. That was definitely the trade of the day, whether it's shadow of a doubt. That was trade of the day. And except for that, nothing else in my opinion. I just wasn't a fan of today's market conditions. Didn't really like how we were moving, so I ended up calling it early. And again, hindsight warrior here. But if I was on the charts while that A plus setup presented itself, I personally don't think I would have taken it. Simply just being, the displacement is amazing. It's great. I probably definitely would have thought about it, but overall, just not a high conviction day for me. Pretty slow, and kind of just dumping, and yeah, it's just not great. I definitely didn't want to long against this because the higher time frame is 100% bearish. So that's kind of technically everything for today. No trades for me today. It did end up taking a trade on Thursday, which I ended up getting break even on. I think this is right here. I'll just go over this super quickly. It was just pretty simple. It was a 5-minute count out of this gap. Ooh, out of this gap here. Yeah, it was this here. So yeah, I ended up coming into this 5-minute. I ended up taking this, and I was just targeting London session highs with this, and I had my stop loss right here. Targeting London session highs, 80 points. It was just a really crazy close. I originally just wanted to target this internal range high, but the close was just so brutal that it is what it is. I ended up going break even at this internal rate high. I ended up getting break even and then saving myself from my loss. So yeah, that's the trade I ended up taking on Thursday. Sorry, I actually forgot to recap that. But yeah, today there was just nothing, in my opinion, that was really valid. So I ended up just staying off the charts today, which is completely fine. And yeah, that's going to be it. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you guys ended up taking anything today, drop them in the comments below too. And if you guys want to talk to me personally, my Instagram, Discord, and TikTok will be in the bio of this video. You can go check them out and give me a follow or give me a message on either of those platforms, and we can talk about trading if you guys have any questions for me. I'm going to be documenting my entire journey to profitability, so excited for the future of this channel. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'll catch you guys in the next episode, or the next recap, which will be tomorrow. So except for that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you. Peace.